My name is Brandon, and I am an alcoholic. Brandon. Still. I know. Still. Can't shake it. All right, timer set. 17 minutes. All right. So, it is so good to be home, man. I've missed you guys so much. I am so grateful for you guys keeping the Zoom going. I'd like to tell you that it's been super easy to get plugged into AA in Washington, where my family and I live now. The majority of that for sure is on me, but there's been a part that's been a struggle too. So through all of that, I'm so grateful that we were given a beautiful gift out of the mess that was the COVID time, right? And that's the Zoom stuff. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It has kept me, it's probably kept me sober and sane, having this Wednesday night meeting as a fallback in case I haven't been able to make it to an in-person meeting. Any week up there. So thank you truly for keeping this going. I love this meeting, man. This meeting was my home group for 4 or 5 years, something like that. I came into this meeting, I was about 7.5 years sober, but by no means was I spiritually well. I came to this meeting after not having gone to an in-person meeting in probably 2.5 years. I had just had an affair, one of those things that on the list of things in life you think you'll never do. I pretty much did all those things on the list of shit I would never do, right? Like I would never do heroin. That didn't last long, I would never cheat on my wife. That didn't last super long, right? So anyways, I was more spiritually sick and messed up at 7.5 years physically sober than I ever was in my active disease. So when I came to this meeting, we were still in the small room on the side over there. What the interesting thing was, is I immediately felt at home. I didn't feel like I was about to be shamed or judged or any of that shit, man. I felt immediately comfortable and at home. I did pick the meeting from the directory that said sicker than most intentionally, and it worked out, but I love this meeting, man. You guys saved my life, Alcoholics Anonymous gave me a life, and you guys saved it. So I got here pretty young, man. I was 21 when I got sober. I definitely earned my seat in these rooms, by the time I was, 15, was a daily habitual user, drinker, you name it. Messed up athletic scholarships, academic scholarships, you name it. I ruined it just trying to party. That's all I wanted to do, man. I just wanted to party. I wanted to fit in. One of my favorite stories from early sobriety I'll share with you. I was in rehab out in Riverside, and the guy who was my first sponsor, Anthony G, he, God bless this man, he would come to this treatment center 3 to 5 days a week after work for 3 hours a day to work with the guys in this treatment center, because one of the requisites for leaving the treatment center admirably was getting through your 4-step. And so he wanted to do whatever he could to make sure as many dudes left that treatment center having done a 4-step as possible. I can't imagine the number of lives that guy impacted over the years doing that, but I was one of them. And so I'll never forget, when he basically was like, I'm your sponsor. And some of you know Anthony, so it's funnier. I didn't want Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't want to change. I didn't want to stop. I didn't think there was a problem, despite the courts saying there was a problem, despite my family saying there was a problem, despite my health saying there was a problem. It wasn't a problem. I was fine, dude. I was 21. I was invincible still, right? I had only done a couple weekends. I wasn't I'd never gone to state. It was just county a couple times. Who cares? Hasn't everyone? Right? So it wasn't that bad yet. So anyways, I decided that I would work with this dude, Anthony, on my steps, not because I wanted anything that you guys had to offer whatsoever, but because what I wanted was the attention and the admiration of the dudes at the treatment center saying, hey, Brandon, good job, man. You did a great job. Because that's all I fucking care about. That's all I care about is you telling me, hey man, good job. And then I feel a part of, and then I don't feel so separate from everything, right? Which is the definition of the malady that we have as alcoholics, is a separation. So my entire life, my entire, drinking and drugging career was just about trying to feel a part of something. Because I didn't even feel connected to who I was, right? But instead of figuring that out, because who the hell knows how to do that, right? I try and fit into every single other thing that I could, right? So, anyway, so I start doing my steps because I want that pat on the ass from the counselors at the treatment center. And lo and behold, it doesn't matter why you do them in the first place, as long as you're able to do them with a shred of honesty. They're gonna work their magic. And something changed along the way in me. I could look at several different pivotal points. It could have been, getting down on my knees in the middle of this like fountain garden area at the treatment center in front of like 300 other dudes, doing my third step prayer for the first time with my sponsor next to me. It could have been that moment. I don't know. It could have been writing out a fourth step and looking at all the damage that I had caused, but also like the root of everything, and that I'm really just a child who's filled with 1,000 forms of fear, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing in life. And I'm disconnected from a higher power, and I can't operate without a connection. At some point along there, something changed for me, and I wanted this more than I ever wanted a drink or a drug or a lay or a whatever before. By the time I left that treatment center, I think I was just over like 60 days sober. I had finished my fourth step. The day after I left there, we went to a golf course and did my fifth step. Anthony's rationale for doing a fifth step at the golf course is because no one can hear what you're saying. That I think it's just because he wanted to go golfing. But I have done it with many of my own sponsees since, so thanks. I got here when I was young. Coming to a room like this, where I'm still probably in the younger half of men in this room. Now being a little bit older, if there's some 21-year-old kid, no offense if you're 21, welcome, like it works. I've been able to stick around, you can too. But if some 21-year-old kid who was like ready to sponsor people came up to me and was like, hey man, I'll sponsor you, I'd be like, come on man, get out of here. Where's the older guy that I can relate to now, right? So my sponsor suggested, when I went to sober living, to get plugged into young people AA. And I don't know if that's still a big thing or not. I haven't been in a long time, but I got plugged in with young people AA in the Inland Empire pretty heavily. I was on service committees, Tricky Paw, Tri-County Young People, and Alcoholics Anonymous. We hosted huge events, big roundups, dances, you name it. And it was all like the same debauchery that you would have anyways, just everyone sober. But, we might as well call them 13-step dances. Yeah. But I stayed sober. And that's the point, right? I was of service. I put on these huge events. We knew what they were. It was just madness, but I stayed sober. It worked. I was a part of young people almost exclusively. I always kept one men's stag. That's my original home group is ironically a Wednesday night men's stag down in Riverside. And I'll circle back to that because that's important in my story. But I found over the years, before I met my wife especially, it's better for me to be in meetings where I am not distracted. So for me, it's been men's stags for quite a long time, because I can't be trusted, dude. I lose sight of why we're here pretty quickly. So this is where I get spiritually fed, and this is where I find that I can be of most usefulness to you guys, is in rooms like this. Because I'm not trying to put on a front, right, for like some hot chick who's sitting over here, and I'm not trying to like talk up all the bullshit that I went through in my drunkalogs, right? I don't need to do that. We can be honest with each other. And that's why I love men's stags so much. So I highly suggest you sticking to this meeting if this is your first time here. This is where the real magic will happen for you. It did for me at least. So yeah, fast forward to getting a part of this meeting, man. I had kind of done a daily 10th step, kind of, I had this little note on my wall next to like my side of the bed, and it was, have you been selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, all the stuff that the book tells us to review and our daily conduct. And it's just been on my wall, and I wasn't looking at it, and I hadn't been going to meetings, and you guys set me straight, man. I got a commitment, I think my second meeting being here. Get a commitment. If you don't have a commitment at any meetings, get one here. Perfect night to be here for that. You might not like doing it, wipe off some tables. At least they don't got to empty ashtrays anymore. Make the coffee. That was always my favorite commitment because it's probably the most important one, unless you want all of us to be really angry. Get a commitment, man. It's important to have something that like you're accountable for. If you know that like you're supposed to be here 45 minutes before a meeting starts to start making a huge pot of coffee for 50 dudes who are going to be pretty pissed off if there's not coffee, you're here. You're not going to flake. At least I didn't. Like maybe one time, and then, man, you hear it. You hear it, and I don't like feeling uncomfortable and shame and like having to make amends. So I didn't do it again. Get a commitment, man. It'll give you something to look forward to and to be accountable to, and it'll make sense down the road. Sorry, give me a second. I'm just really grateful to be here with you guys. We just drove 18 hours from Seattle down to here a day ago, so
just for us.
Just for you guys, man. No. I'm a little overwhelmed emotionally. It's nice to be home and to be with you guys. It doesn't matter how long, if I'm on this Zoom screen, for the last 2 years, or, if I've been in Timbuktu or wherever, it doesn't matter. Like, this room will always feel like home to me. I know that I can trust every dude in this room, maybe to varying degrees. But I can trust you because I know you, because I am you, because you're me. And that's why Alcoholics Anonymous works. The meetings give us a space to share our experience, strength, and hope. That's our stories. So that when the new guy walks in, he can relate to something. Because I remember the first meeting I ever walked into, long before going to rehab that time. And I went in there thinking, none of these guys are going to understand what the hell I'm in here for. Don't you know who I am, what I've done? I hadn't done shit. I'm just saying, that's how I felt. Nobody was going to be able to relate to what I was going through. Nobody. Guess what? There wasn't a person in that meeting who didn't understand fully how I felt. That's why this works, man. We get to go through this together. That's why there's a higher success rate with AA than there is with clinical therapy trying to treat alcoholism. I'm not saying don't go to therapy. The book suggests going to outside help. And I do that myself, and I love my therapist. I talk to her about some shit that I would not talk to you guys about. Most of you. The point is that we were given this beautiful gift of this program, and it works, and far be it for me to question why it works, right? We've got a couple things that are laid out for us, pretty simple in this program, right? First thing is this book right here. This is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you don't have one, we'll do an announcement about that in a little bit, and I'll make sure that you leave here with one. This is Alcoholics Anonymous right here, this book. It's not this meeting. It's not hanging out outside afterwards. It's this book right here. That's Alcoholics Anonymous. So we'll get you a book. You've already got a home group if you're here. It's right here, right now. It's the same time every Wednesday. If you can't make it in person, guess what? There's a Zoom. The next thing you're going to need to get is a sponsor. We still do a sponsorship announcement, yeah? Yep. Great. Think of the sponsor as a teacher who's going to teach you this textbook on how to live, because you don't fucking know. I didn't know. I still don't know most days unless I hit this up or call somebody. I'm bummed Addison's not here, so I can't pick on him more. But cooking class with his wife was more important. Anyways, get a book. You got a home group. We'll make sure that you leave here with a sponsor. A part of that book, the most important stuff in that book is right here.
There it is.
Right here, man. It's right here.
Right there. Right there.
You guys weren't even listening that whole time. You were just waiting for me to do that. Dude, like I said, I didn't want to change when I got here. I didn't think anything was the matter. I didn't know I was filled with 1,000 forms of fear and that I was, I had the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old, because that's when I started using daily. But I didn't know, how would you know? I didn't know. This is how I found out. Right here. Not the chicken, the steps. There's all sorts of really bogus misconceptions thrown around about the steps, like the 4th step being this big scary thing. Dude, you know what you've done already. Yeah. And nobody in this room hasn't done some shit that you haven't done anyways. Mm-hmm. I promise you that. The worst possible thing that you've done, 3 dudes in this room have done it twice. At least. Probably with this chicken. Yeah.
I know it.
I can tell you, my experience with the steps, there were far harder, more difficult steps than the 4th step. The 6th step is one. 10, 11, and 12 continue to be. But at the end of the day, what we're given from just being willing to be a little bit honest with another man and answer some questions about our lives that we already know the answers to, what we're given for being willing to doing that is the greatest trade-off in the history of humankind, certainly in the history of alcoholics. The freedoms that I'm given today, the growth that I've experienced as a person, as a man. I can show up for my kids today, man. I have 2 daughters that are competitive dancers. That is a world that I have zero idea about. And I'm able to be present and support them and be this crazy behind the scenes prop dad. I don't know if you know what that is, but I'm up on the stage behind their building shit and wheeling it out on stage while they're spinning around in tutus and stuff. It's nuts. And I'm there for that. And I get to do that because of those steps, man. Because of dudes like you in this room teaching me how to be a good father. Because I didn't have a good model of what that looked like. So how would I know? Because dudes like Tom and Patch and Monty get to show me what that looks like. And now I get to do the same thing for other young men that come into these rooms. How to be a faithful now and loving husband, and how to work as a team with my spouse instead of I'm the man of the house and we're going to do this. That doesn't, good luck. Good luck. Because it doesn't work in my house. I get to be a team with my wife today, and you guys taught me that. Because again, that was not how that was modeled for me growing up. Every single good thing that I have in my life today, what are we at, 14 years later, every single good thing I have in my life today is because of Alcoholics Anonymous, is because of these steps, is because of the relationship with my higher power that I was given because of this book. I don't know how to sell it any better than that. I'll be here for as long as I can possibly stand outside after the meeting. I would love to chat with each and every one of you. If you got any questions at all, I wish that I could raise my hand and say I would sponsor anyone in here who doesn't have a sponsor. That's a little bit hard from 1,200 miles away, but I will make damn sure that you don't leave here without a sponsor if you need one. Anyway, so I love you guys very much, and it's a true honor and a blessing to be here with you guys. So, thanks.
Welcome.